I can feel it all the way down in my plums.
Yeah! So the what?
And we're back, coming at you.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. This is part 2 of the interview with Gallo. And anything you want to know about BDSM and anything you may not want to know about BDSM is absolutely covered in this episode. So I appreciate you guys listening. Check it out and enjoy the show. Ginger Shades, friend of the show, is also, she claimed submissive in a submissive dom relationship. Mm-hmm. And I know you're familiar with it, and it is a lifestyle, which I've come to learn. I'm fascinated by it. It's a culture I had no idea existed. So, okay, what led you down that road, or how did you know that was the road you wanted to go down? Or
how long is your episode usually run?
You got all day, baby. I got a ton of hard drive space.
Okay, because I got this taps into me figuring out, or not even figuring out, but me falling into the path that led me when I was in my sex addiction. In the mid 90s, I got on AOL. A girl cheated on me, and my response was like, okay, fine, I'm going to cheat on you with as many women as possible. And in my mind, my goal was to sleep with 100 women and then throw it in her face that I'd fucked 100 girls. And back in the early 90s, AOL was like how most everybody got on the internet.
Shameless plug.
In the beginning, it was dangerous. You didn't know what you were meeting.
Yeah, you didn't know what you were meeting, because sometimes you would say, oh yeah, I'm going to meet somebody, and it turned out to be like a 45-year-old man. Or anyways, so it was super easy to meet people, especially you tell them, hey, let's meet at a Denny's or someplace public, meeting girls left and right, hooking up with them. And that ended up being a game with me and some other guys that went to, we call ourselves a Denny's crew, 2 females and 3 guys. And one of those women that I met was about 2-3 years older than me. And she started taking me to sex clubs or swingers clubs. And swingers clubs, everybody hooks up with everybody, hard swaps, soft swaps, all that stuff. But that really wasn't my jam. Like I was okay with other people sleeping with, or other guys sleeping with her, because like I didn't have that emotional connection. I didn't really care about her that much. And probably 3 or 4 months into it, at the swingers clubs, once a month, every swingers club has a fet night or a fetish night. And we went on a random night and we found out, oh, hey, so basically in Houston, there were at the time, I forget if it was 4 or 5. Now there's like 7.
People don't realize how many of these clubs there are around.
Oh, there's so many. And they're not always listed as the swingers clubs. They're usually listed as a private club.
Yeah.
On Google. And if you go and try to look for anything about it, you're not going to know anything.
You have to go, it's word of mouth.
Yeah, word of mouth or knowing. Now it's a little easier. You can find out on fetlife.com. But anyways, at the time,
I'm writing that down. Fetlife.com.
There's another one too that's, I think, is gaining traction, being better. But anyways, FetLife now
the
is
Clubhouse app.
Well, FetLife is now it's more like a dirty, kinky Facebook, whereas before it was more about like learning and kind of education and meeting up with other like-minded individuals. Now it's like political and racist and all the same stuff that you see on Facebook.
How everything gets when more people get involved, huh?
Yeah.
So you were not in the sub-dom state of mind yet?
Not yet, no.
Okay.
And so I kind of was. I just didn't realize I was. And part of that was when I was seeing these women, it was, how soon can I hook up with them? Then eventually I got to the mindset of, what can I make her do to earn the chance to sleep with me? Because by that point, I already knew I was good in bed. And
heard that.
So I was 18 or 19 at the time. And in Texas, age of consent is 17, or you can be within 3 years. So if I was 18, I could be with a 15-year-old, or 16 or 17. But
wow, I didn't know that.
It would be, and then this is Texas. Other states are all over the place. Like
another
Nevada.
Reason to move to Texas.
Well, Nevada is 16, as long as you're not an authority figure. So yeah, so in my mindset, it was more of like, okay, what can I get her to do? And I was getting girls to strip for me in a Denny's at 2 p.m. on the table before I did anything with them.
Oh, you were eating for free.
Kind of.
They probably saw you walked in, like, remember that show Cheers? Like Norm walked in. You walked in, Gallo.
Right. But so that kind of that thrill, that excitement of getting people to do or subjugating women to do whatever I wanted because they wanted to be with me. That was like empowering, but I didn't realize what it was. So once I went to one of these clubs, swingers clubs, saw what was going on and met a dom. And it was probably like 2 or 3 other times that I went till I finally, asked for guidance, how to do things. And he became my mentor. And I learned a lot of stuff about the history of BDSM, but so it's hearsay because there's kind of like two. So BDSM
not documented.
Yeah. So BDSM has been around since like ancient Egyptian times, but it's been like different forms, different titles, different things. But the way we know it in the modern times kind of stems from 2 branches back in the 40s and 50s. So there's the Betty Page branch, which is like the hetero version. And then there was the gay version, which is for the leather daddies. I mean, there's probably other versions that kind of merged in later, but these are the 2 that I know because the guy I learned from him in the 90s. He learned from a gay man in the 70s who started in the 50s. So it was like every 20 years, like, there was this new teacher thing that was going on. Wow. The guy in the 50s, he was from a group of the leather daddies that kind of started back in San Francisco because everything was still kind of even though it was more open in the 50s in San Francisco than it was anywhere else.
It was still
it was also, it was very subversive, very underground.
Taboo.
So it was taboo. It was all these hidden messages, encoded handshakes and stuff to be able to communicate these things because there was no internet to be able to go openly search for these things. You had to know somebody that knew somebody. And anyways, from that branch, that was more of the structure, more of the rule set and stuff of how to behave, how to protocols. And with the Betty Page part, it was just kind of more for fun, for domineering and subjugating the women, but it was more of being aesthetically pleasing. So there was like the aesthetic side and then the hardline rules with the gays. And then the gays, so again, this is like hearsay from 2 versions. So from the 50s leather daddy to the 70s dom that I learned from in the 90s. So this is, like 80 years removed. But anyways.
It's generations.
Right. Yeah. So there's generation to it. And with the rules, some of the things that was said, and I don't know if it was my dom that told me or he was here saying to me, but essentially that because it was so subversive in the 50s, the punishment and the domination and masochism and all the other stuff that was in it was more severe because the doms were taking out their anger that they had on society and life and in themselves because they hated themselves,
oppressed in a way, right?
Yeah, they were oppressed, so they were venting that anger, that rage on their subs. And then the submissives took it and accepted it because they felt they deserved that, because they felt like they were less than, because they weren't as masculine as they should be. And of course, there were some gays back then that were proud of being gay, that they were just scared to ruin their lives or their family lives because, they had to get married and pretend the whole thing. So they enjoyed the time that they had with other men, but they had to keep it secret. And then, of course, there's the BDSM. So they kind of all merging all together in the 70s when
love became free and
right. So yeah, the Summer of Love kind of opened up some doors, at least back doors.
Yeah, doors.
Right.
We both did it. Goddamn, both of us.
But yeah, so these quote unquote back doors, it made it a little more mainstream as far as having these sex clubs where gays and straights would go together. But it was both that understanding that this is something that they were trying to explore and learn about. And for me, BDSM in general is kind of a poor man's or layman's therapy, because even though you may not want to address whatever your problems are, at least you're dealing with them with a consenting partner in a way that you both agree to. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So first, I guess the first thing I want to ask is, so which branch are you in?
I would fall under domination or being a dom. And then under that subheading, I've learned that I like the daddy little dynamic, and that can be like a whole thing as well. Some of them sometimes it's for the caregiver, because there's mommies and daddies, and then they call them caregiver depending on their
that's sweet
gender identification thing now. But either case, they could be caregivers because they never had a child, they missed a child that they lost, something to deal with some type of trauma of like not having their child anymore.
So it doesn't even have to be sexual then.
Exactly.
Is what you're saying.
So that's another whole other thing about BDSM is that in kink, not all play scenes are sexual. There doesn't have to be penetrative sex for it to have some type of gratification or some type of closure or release of what you're doing.
See, even I didn't know that. You just assume,
Yeah. And then another thing too is that most people assume that if you're into kink, then you're DTF all the time, 24/7. That's not always the case. Usually you just want to play with one or two.
Hell yeah, bro.
So
yeah, that's the problem, right?
Especially after 50 Shades of Shit came out and everybody's like, oh yeah, this is the greatest thing ever. But one of the big things about 50 Shades is we in the kink community see it as rape because there's a scene where she specifically says her safe word and he blows through it. And I get how vanillas see it. Oh my God, that's so hot. He loves her so much or he wants her so bad that he can't take no for an answer. But
in real life, that's not how it's supposed. Yeah, it can't go down like that.
Yeah, that's not how we accept it or how we do it. But then also that opened a whole subgenre of literature and even, and which was also the reason that started my podcast is that I was seeing a lot of subs complain about if they put anything kink related in their bio for looking for a date or like Tinder or whatever, they get flooded with messages. Oh, I'm a real dom. I know what I'm doing. I don't need a safe word. Or if you were a real sub, you don't need a safe word. You don't know what you're doing. And even though they know better, they're still getting all these stupid messages from these guys. So that was something I wanted to address.
What's the downside for someone having a safe word? I don't see what the downside to that would be at all. I mean, why would anyone say that that's a problem?
To have or not have?
No, to have one. To have what's the argument against having one? I mean, isn't that?
Oh, so I don't know what the argument is. I just know that they say that if you have one, then you're not a real sub. You're not a real, you're not really quote unquote into kink if you have a safe word. But the purpose of kink is you're getting into kink to, like I say, it's like a layman's therapy you're going in there to deal with some type of trauma in a way that you personally find acceptable, that you can deal with and you can accept. I know several females that were molested in their youth and they enjoy kink. And one of their bigger things is they can't call their dom or somebody, their partner, daddy or uncle or whoever the person was, their perpetrator. So they can enjoy everything with kink. They just don't want to use that word. And it would be kind of the same thing as that dom or that person that's above them or has the authority making them say that word and then re-traumatizing them. But these doms think that,
which probably happens, right?
Sometimes it does, but these doms think that by making the sub say daddy or uncle or whatever it is that makes them push their boundary, it makes them think that if you push through it enough, you'll get over it. Whereas, people are going to go through it at their own pace. Another thing is maybe someone doesn't want to get hurt or whatever it is. By having a safe word, it keeps you mentally safe from breaking or fracturing even further.
Like a net.
Yeah, it's like your safety net while you're playing to make sure that you push to the edge, but you don't go over, you don't fall or go further than what you want to do. And that's something that we in the kink community understand and we push and advocate for.
So what happens if the sub does not do what they're told? Then, you don't have to be specific, but how far do you take it just until you hear a safe word? You just do whatever you feel necessary, or is there levels to it? Or there are
levels, and a lot of it is being able to read body language. And I'll give an example too, because been a couple of years ago. And so I had a sub that she is what we would call a pain sub or a pain slut, where anything and everything you do to her just makes her wetter, turns her on more.
Sounds good.
Like slapped in the face, punched in the back of the head, pinching her nipples, pulling on them, scratching her, anything that would leave bruises. The only thing that would be usually a caveat is to not leave any marks above the neck or below the elbow because, she had a professional job. So she
can't cover it. Yeah.
Yeah. So she needs stuff, anything that's uncovered, don't do anything there. But she would still enjoy it, getting slapped in the face or punched in the face. She just didn't like too much or enough to leave a bruise. And if something accidentally happened, okay, whatever, in the moment, both parties will either forget or not think about it. And she's okay with it. It's just more of, having to deal with the after effects of being seen in public with a black eye, because first thing someone thinks when a woman has a black eye, oh shit, your husband's abusive, right?
Yeah.
So basically just trying to avoid those kind of things, because she was also married. So you can't have a woman have a black eye, her husband's not beating her, and then she get in trouble. Well, who beats you? Who hits you in the face? So that was a whole other thing.
Yeah. And then, the husband sees the black eye, like, hey, where'd that come from? Yeah.
And whatever. So anyways, I was playing with the pain slut first, had sex, backhanding her, slapping her, choking her. Probably an hour later, I went to go play with the other one, the breast play girl. We're having sex, and I backhand her during sex. And when I backhand her, I'm still in her, facing her, and she gave me this look on her face. And in that instant, like, oh shit, I realized she didn't say her safe
fucked
word.
up.
She didn't. Yeah, it was that, oh shit, I fucked up. But we kept going. She didn't say stop. She didn't say her safe word. Kept going.
So you hit her again?
No. No, I just started playing with her breasts, or hitting her breasts. And when we were done, I realized, oh shit, okay. Hey, look, I know what happened. I apologize. I got carried away, and like 2 hours ago, I was playing with this other girl. She likes that. She goes, no, I get it. When I read her face, she knew it was okay. So it's reading body language and understanding the other person. And with that, I prefer to not just have safe words, but also caution words. And I don't like having just one word, because a lot of times in the moment you'll forget. If your safe word is rhubarb, and you're like, oh fuck, wait.
Wait, what'd you say?
Rhubarb, right?
Yeah.
But what I like to do is anything that's the color red, stop sign, stop, red, apple, barn, schoolhouse, whatever, anything that's related to the color red that can be associated with it, that's full stop, game over, get dressed, we're done.
That's good thinking. I see.
And then with the cautionary word, anything
yellow. Yeah.
School bus, traffic. And that's more of like, hey, hold on, this is too intense. Let's pause, back it up a step, and then we'll start over again. So it's more, for me, I like to have that, because I don't want to push to a point where it comes to a stop. But at the same time, if I go to a certain point, I know, okay, hey, we can still have fun, we can still play. But it's also important to be able to read body language. And so far, I haven't heard a safe or cautionary word in about 20 years. And I got a few cautionary words too early on, like I want to say maybe 2002, 2003 was the last time I've had a sub or a playmate use a safe or cautionary word.
That's so interesting. Like, so and no disrespect, but this is an honest question. Like, would you ever consider being a sub? Or are you, once you're a sub or a dom, you're one or the other, you're never...
Well, you can be both. There are some people that are switches, or they like being both. Though, in my experience, or from what I've heard from other submissives, usually switches aren't good doms. This is, like, again, hearsay. So they don't have the same authority, or they don't see this, the subs don't see the same authority in a switch as they would in a dom. Yeah,
it's like, we'd love to put you in the new Scorsese film, but you did that porno in the 90s. So,
and I wanted to go back to that. What was it? The question of like how to do a level with submissives, of like if they misbehave or don't.
Yeah.
So if they're not doing what they're told, that's a whole other thing, and that also falls into the littles, because there's also brats. There's various forms of submissives, but one of them, or the more prominent one nowadays, is a brat, to where they push your buttons. And then as a dom, you have to realize, okay, are they misbehaving because they want to get spanked because they enjoy pain? Are they testing if I'm going to be a dom and do what I say and keep my word as law? Or am I having to go, okay, she wants to get spanked, so instead I'm going to put her in the corner as a real punishment that she doesn't want? So it's one of those, it's like, it's a balancing act with it.
Yeah, there's so many layers to it. I wish I could just dip my toe into the pool with my wife sometimes. It's there. I mean, as far as just doing what she's told. But
well, the only downside that I have about a lot of kink communities is that it's very cliquish, like high school. So more often than not, to me, it's kind of like the ugly band geeks in high school that couldn't get laid are now doing the crazy kinky shit, and they still have that high school cliquish mentality of like, oh, you didn't like us when we weren't cool, and now we are cool because we're, being sluts and sexy or whatever. Yeah. So,
like police officers.
Kind of. It's very cliquish. It's very cliquish.
Like,
but
cops are a lot of nerds that grew up and now they have a badge.
A lot of times, yeah. Or people that got out of the military and still have that mindset and don't want to get out of it. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, going and experience it without actually, jumping in. So you can dip your toes in without having to jump in, learn about what's available, learn about classes, learn about events. And
I think I might do that. And then that way I can tell my wife about it later. But I know I would, I don't want to keep you too long, but I do want one thing I wanted to touch on. You had a really interesting answer to a question I asked about, for lack of a better term, there aren't as many Latinos that are podcasting now. The reason I pose that is I realize that I know anybody that has a couple bucks, that can get a couple bucks together, can become a podcaster. But the market is flooded with, and I think that it really waters it down. And from what I've heard, what I've experienced is like Mexicans and African Americans tend to see life from an old soul perspective. When you have the honkies, for lack of a better term, I'm a Viking, literally, legitimately. I am a Viking. I'm Icelandic.
My girlfriend too. She's Swedish, Nordic, all the other stuff in there. She's Yeah,
a little bit of all of it. The reason I brought it up is because as far as podcasting being a nerdy white guy thing, it is now, absolutely. But do you think that's going to change? Do you think it's going to get better? All right. I know we left it at a cliffhanger there, but did that on purpose. Make sure you guys come back and hear what else Gallo and I have to talk about. Make sure you check out Gallo's show, Sucias are my favorite, on Spotify, on all the major platforms. He's doing it the right way. And check out the other episodes of YSP on youtube.com/C/the Yeah So podcast. And if you don't know, now you know. And if you do know, you still know. Thanks for listening, everybody. Remember, don't cheat yourself. Treat yourself.